Welcome along to the Mad Monday podcast, brought to you by 4 and 20 Pies. It's the perfect at-home snack for watching rugby league. You got me here, the Pants Man, Joel Harrison, and I'm joined with Ben Hurley. Welcome, Ben. How's it going?
Great, mate. What a round of rugby league. You can definitely tell it was post-Origin. There was some big margins, but none more so than the Wars beating the Cows.
Yeah, no, it was a great time. I was lucky enough to join Di in the Export B studio to commentate the game on Saturday night. It was fun. I feel like it was probably the most well-rounded Warriors performance of the year so far.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, we talked about it. I commentated that Origin game 1, and the Cowboys had more players involved in Origin than any other single club. So I think we counted 7. Because there was a couple, and obviously there's most of them for the Maroons, but a couple for the Blues as well. So most of those players backed up, some of them coming off the bench. But the Cows, even though they look great on paper, they haven't had the best season so far anyway. And with, half their team, more than half their team, having played a very physical game of rugby league just 4 days before, they definitely showed signs of fatigue, and you don't see a team like that, lose by 30 points very often.
Yeah, especially at home in North Queensland, which is normally a pretty tough trip. I feel like Ruben Cotter, he's normally one of the biggest impact to their team as well. He made 32 tackles in the first half, and after playing a grueling Origin game as well, it would be pretty tough for that. And then the likes of Val Holmes dead, and they didn't really fire. So the Warriors, we were lucky for that one. What did you reckon of like Dylan Walker moving into the starting lineup instead of Tohu Harris?
Yeah, really interesting. I feel like I love Tohu Harris. He is the mighty Totara, and I won't have a bad word said about him, but he's definitely slower off the mark than he used to be. He gets big post-contact meters, but I guess they're just easing him back in, right, after his injury. And Dylan Walker he's just the fix-it man. He just goes wherever you need him.
He was so good, and I think it was for Mitch Barnett's try. We were talking about it off here as well. That was your punt of the week last week, and it brought home about $300 to the ACC kitty. But yeah, just the way he straightens up the ball in the middle, fed it to Tamati Martin, then Martin just put Barnett over. It was good to see Walker playing like that.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And let's talk about Tamati Martin too, because I think we saw the best of him finally in the Warriors jersey. He's just such a solid half. He's not flashy, but you don't know what he's going to do. And I think sometimes with SJ, you kind of know he's not going to run at the line this year. He did last year. This year he's had that niggling injury. He's currently out with that injury. So it does become a little bit predictable that he is just going to boot downfield or distribute. But with Tamati, he runs at the line. And so it just gives it that little bit of extra jeopardy every time he's got the ball in his hand.
It's crazy because when Tamati Martin has come to the Warriors for the last 2 years, he's sort of been a bit injury prone and kind of been behind Metcalf. He was good at the start of last year, and he hasn't really shown. In these last 3 weeks, he's almost been like the standout 7 in the competition. And then Johnson, I think, is supposed to be back this week after his pec injury. So would you bring him back into the lineup? Would you leave him on the bench?
No, I think you'd bring him back in and put Tamati back to 6 because, unfortunately, and I'm a massive fan of the man, but Chanel Harris-Tavita did not have the best game. Obviously, he was 10 in the bin for arguably the most schoolboy kind of childish, ball throw that Chad Townsend didn't even notice, and he got 10 in the bin for it. And the ball literally hit him in the back of the head.
Yeah.
And he didn't turn around, didn't say anything, and he gets 10 in the bin for it. But yeah, I mean, looking at his Supercoach points, he played most of that game and scored, I think, 26 Supercoach points. So not a great full start for his first start in a Warriors jersey in a couple of years.
Yeah, he was probably one of the only Warriors who didn't almost perform to their best ability in the weekend as well. It was so good to see across the park, everyone was doing it. I feel like Webby needs to find a way that he can get Tamati in there at 6, but also still give him a bit more management as well. Do you reckon that's a doable thing?
Yeah, I think probably what I hope is that given that he's in some really good form, that Sean and him will share that management a bit better, and it's not just down to SJ on the last play, on the fifth tackle every time, that it could go to either one, because Tamaite's kicking game pretty great as well.
Yeah, Di was having a field day on the commentary in the weekend with Chad Townsend. He's saying he's the Chris Lilly of the NRL. Seems like there's a bit of bad blood between him and the Warriors.
It really does, doesn't it? He is an ex-Warrior, for those who haven't caught up, but I always liked Chad Townsend at the Warriors. I thought he gave it his best, and then he moved away and he became, I think one year he was the most penalised player in the competition when he went to did he go straight to the Cows, or did he go somewhere else first?
Didn't he go to the Sharks and then he came back to the Warriors, yes, right, and then he went to the Cowboys, I think.
Oh, right. So, he's probably just getting a little bit older now. He definitely looks redder in the face and angrier than he used to be. He has sorted out his discipline a little bit, but there did seem a little bit of niggle there between them, and I wonder if, and particularly some of the older Warrior players that would have been there while he was there, like Marcelo Montoya.
Montoya was fired up. I know he had an incident a few years ago against the Cowboys as well that led to a bit of a ban. So I think there's a bit of bad blood between him and the Cowboys as well. He was fired up. And when he could have got sent off for that push on Chad Townsend as well, or Montoya.
Yeah, that's right. Look, I'm a Cowboys fan. They are my other team. I love watching them play. They are a little bit like the Warriors in that they are massively up and down, and and particularly this year they're almost having identical seasons. So I'm not sure what the water under the bridge is there, but look, 42 points to 12. What a performance! Just tries galore, and we should probably talk about the back.
Oh yes, that was vintage DWZ there. When I was commentating it, I said it was Ben Barber-esque, but it was actually like Greg Inglis in 2008 heading it back to Gaznia. Probably one of the best tries I've seen in a long time, especially from the Warriors.
Yeah, and it was. I loved just the back was so casual. Like he just thought he'd roll the dice. Oh, I may as well have a little swipe at this, and lo and behold.
And his foot was like centimetres away from the white line. I know they train, especially as a winger, he trains to stay in the field of play and stuff, but surely there was some element of a fluke there as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you got to have a little bit of luck. The way the ball just popped up at the end on that last bounce. But you know what? You got to take the opportunities, and the Warriors certainly have had their share of bad luck over the years. So let's take them. So currently the Warriors are 6 wins, 6 losses, and a draw. You can't have more of an even split of a season than that.
Yeah, and especially after, was it 4 or 5 losses in a row, and now we've turned it into 3 wins and a bye. So we're sitting at 9th on the table, 1 point outside of the 8. The 8 is pretty even though at the moment. It goes up to 16 points with the Roosters in 6, and then Storm at the top with the Sharks on 22 points. So the Warriors are a few more wins away. We could easily cement ourselves in the top 8 for the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of don't want to be 7th or 8th. I mean, I'm not sure if we can get higher than that. I think we'd have to go on a hell of a run now. But, 7th and 8th, if you lose in that, you got to play, it'll be Cronulla or Brisbane or something, or the Storm in that first round of the finals, and you're basically gone. Like, I don't think anyone. I mean, the Warriors made the grand final from 8th once, but that was a long time ago. Yeah,
there was the setup this year. It really favours the top 4 teams. We do have kind of an interesting draw coming up. We gave the Storm, Titans, Broncos, and Bulldogs. Obviously, Storm and Broncos at home. Probably 2 of the hardest teams in the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. But just remember, we almost beat the Storm earlier this year, and that was my sliding doors moment. But since I mentioned that sliding doors moment, we've won every game. So look, let's hope we just can contain Xavier Coates pulling off a miracle in the last minute and bag 2 points against the Storm, who, by the way, look very good. Yeah,
it was a good game yesterday. They kind of let the Knights back in there at the end. I think without Cameron Munster, they're definitely beatable, but they're still the classic Storm. Craig Bellamy, he looked depressed after a win after the game yesterday. It was a vintage Craig Bellamy move there.
Yeah, they just look like they can score from anywhere, and that's massively dangerous.
There's one key point that's been talked about quite a lot on all the Warriors fan pages at the moment. When RTS comes back, where do you reckon he's going to go?
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, do you put him... I mean, when we had our halves problems and Chance went to 6, like, there was actually... He did pretty well there. And immediately I thought, well, if we've still got injuries when RTS comes back, then he goes straight into fullback, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, Rocco Berry played so well on the weekend, like such a good defensive centre now. So, I don't know. And Adam Pompey's playing well and kicking really well as well. So, yeah, it's. I mean, do you have a back on the bench? Like, it almost never happens anymore. But RTS coming off the bench as an impact player is a pretty awesome luxury to have.
Yeah. I feel like probably over the weekend it was the best bench rotation that Webby's done all season as well, because you had Tohu coming on, played about 60 minutes. Capewell played 40, I think, but it was probably some of his best minutes of the season. Tavanga only played 28 minutes, but he was clinical, and then Lussick for the last 23. So I don't know. It feels like it's a good problem for Webby to have.
Yeah, I mean, Montoya had a couple of rough games. He even dropped out of the side for a game, but I think he's played pretty well since then. So for a little while there, I was thinking, maybe just put RTS on the wing and drop Montoya, but I don't think you can at the moment. Yeah,
and like he was safe under the high ball, kind of cut that error out of the game, which was sort of hindering him at the start of the season. So I don't know. It's I'd be disappointed if Montoya got dropped as well.
Are the Blues still are they still in Super Rugby? Like, maybe we could just put them on loan back to rugby union for a week.
It seems weird because the Blues are kind of thriving at the moment as well when he's dropped out of the system. I
hate this. I hate talking anything but wonderful things about Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
He's such a good player. Pretty much every game this season when he's played, he's made a massive impact as well. So he's been unlucky. Yeah,
I think he has kind of forgotten how to pass. He obviously got the best feet in the game, but I'd like to see him pass a little bit more. And he's very, very solid defender. But a little bit more distribution from him if I have to have a critical eye on it.
Yeah. Oh well, these are problems that Andrew Webster's going to run into in the next few weeks. Anything else from you on the Warriors over the weekend?
No, that's me. Just it just gives you great confidence. And I know they were a tired side, but you still got to win, and it wasn't close. And as you say, it was up in Townsville where it was, I don't know, probably early 30 degrees, and classic Townsville winter.
Yep, yeah, and it was full of bogans in the crowd as well. There's a couple times one of the guys was standing real close to the stadium mic, so we could hear a lot of his calls, and he was, not a big gene pool up in Townsville, they're saying.
No. I love the Cowboys. I'd like to see them play one day at home, but hopefully it's one of those games where it's not in Townsville. Although that stadium looks pretty cool, I got to say.
It does. It reminds me of sort of like an Amy Park or a Combank Stadium in Sydney. We need one of those over here in New Zealand, but that's a discussion for another time. The 4-20 prize pack, each month being the Mad Monday team, we're giving away 4 tickets to the next home game and 4-20 pie vouchers. Just to enter, you can text the keyword to 3236. Listen to the podcast episodes and find the keywords out for every month. The keyword for this month is YUM. So if you want to win those tickets and the 4-20 prize back, text YUM to 3236. Shall we have a break? Then we'll come back and talk about the Stonka of the Round. Welcome back to the Mad Monday podcast, which is brought to you by 4-20 Pies. Let's go and move on to the Stonka of the Round. This week we're going with the Penrith Panthers playing at home. They took down the Sea Eagles 32-22, and it was a weird game. I've never seen a game with his 2 first-half hat-tricks. Did you catch much of it, Ben?
Yeah, I did actually. Tries galore, and what was amazing about it, I think every single try was scored by a winger. So Tommy Talau got 4, Brian To'o got 3, Sania Taruva got 2. He also had a shocker defensively in the first half, but that's hence why Tommy Talau got 4. But unbelievable. Every single try was scored out wide. So they've obviously got some very good wingers that are good at attack and not defence.
Yeah, even Saab, he scored a consolation try there for Manly, and it was an awesome try, twinkle-toed down the sideline, somehow found a bit of space. But yeah, Tommy Talau, he was kind of an average player last year at best at the Tigers. Now, he's sort of made a revival.
Yeah, I think everyone becomes an average player when they go to the Tigers. I feel for Benji, just to get off track a little bit, because, man, every week he's got to go and defend his team at that press conference. And I think he's a naturally kind of optimistic guy. And it's difficult when every single week you're having a loss pretty much.
There's all these rumours about Lachlan Galvin as well, like the one sort of shining light coming out of the Tigers this season. Apparently he's saying he wanted an early release in the changing rooms, and they've denied it. Now they've got a meeting. The head of the Tigers has a meeting with his mum and dad this week because he's only 18, of course.
Oh, right. Yeah, look, what I've learned about the NRL is generally the rumours are true.
Yep. Yeah.
But no, this is a great game of rugby league on a Sunday afternoon, a real Sydney derby. People who don't know the kind of history of the NRL may not know that Manly was sort of like the Melbourne Storm when they first came into the competition. They come from the wealthy part of Sydney, the Northern Beaches, and they just came in with a lot of money and poached players from all sorts of other clubs. And that was when the competition was only semi-professional. So, and Penrith, very much West Sydney, very much a working class, sort of traditional rugby league place. And so there's some real feeling in this game. They got out to a lead. It probably looks closer than it was on the scoreboard, because Manly sort of came back at them. They never went away, but I don't think Penrith was ever all that worried.
Yeah, it was a clinical Penrith performance as well. I saw 37 out of 38 sets completed from the game. In the second half, they didn't drop a ball. But you could tell there was feeling in there, because Jerome Luai, there was one time where he shoved down the young Travojevic as well, Burbo. He didn't have his brothers to back him up. But he was just like, it was a massive glove move, face into the dirt. And then Luke Brooks kind of cost Manly a try as well by backing him up, collaring Luai. But yeah, it was a great game, and Penrith, they seem to be once again proving to be the team to beat in the competition.
Yeah. I mean, there's a pretty clear top four, isn't there? But I wanted to give a shout out though to Daly Cherry Evans, who played a really good game despite the loss after having a mammoth game for Queensland in the first State of Origin. So, I know he's a half and it's not quite as physical as being a front rower or even a fullback, but the guy's 35 years old and has played 2 fantastic games in a week. Yeah,
there was a classic moment as well when he didn't kick the ball off the mark. So the referee gave him the mark, he kicked it out, and then 3 times he moved about 8 meters forward while kicking the ball. It was I saw it up on the NRL Instagram as well. It's a good moment. But Ruben Garrick's kicking, there was a couple of clips as well up there. They were obviously tough kicks because they were all from the wing, and you could just hear the Penrith bogans giving him a massive spray. And then it kind of won them the game, Penrith.
Yeah, I guess it did actually, didn't it? Yeah. I love the beautiful scar-faced Ruben Garrick, but he was. I think they got in his head, the crowd.
Yeah. And another good player from the game as well was Dane Laurie, who has come over from the Tigers. He was one of the best players for the Tigers last year, and I think he beat Dylan Edwards' record for running meters this year at fullback. Took 25 carries for like 270 meters. Had a mammoth Supercoach game as well, if anyone's following along with that. So yeah, he looks like definitely a first-grade player there, Dane Laurie.
Yeah, but with that moustache, he's not allowed anywhere near a school.
Yeah, 100%. And besides that game, there was pretty much blowouts for the rest of the weekend. Did you catch much of the action? Bits and pieces. I think the Bunnies will be very happy with their blowout because they're not obviously. Was that their first win? I think that's their second win in a row.
Second win.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Well, Latrell is well and truly back. So that talk about a single player team, but the Bunnies without Latrell is well, it's not worth talking about really. But he had a huge game, 150 Supercoach points. So big meters and big presence.
You'd have to assume that he'll be back in Origin for Game 2 as well, probably replacing Suoliti.
Oh, mate, if if Madge knows anything about the game of rugby league, he needs to make wholesale changes and put back in his game breakers.
Yeah, who else do you reckon the game breakers to bring in?
Do you know what? I've said this before. I'll say it again. Scott Drinkwater. I don't know where, but I'd bring him into the side.
Yeah, he is. He's a good player. You sure in pockets against the Warriors, he was lethal.
Well, he ran 80 meters. Like he's got X factor, and I just think that Origin game by the Blues, that's what it lacked. It lacked any kind of spark.
Yeah, and if there were any doubts of Zach Lomax getting dropped as well, he had a great game, to be fair, in his Origin debut, but he scored 32 points 2 nights after playing his first ever game of Origin. I think it was a Dragons record as well for the most points ever scored in a game.
Look, I don't know what it is about him, but he rubs everybody up the wrong way. No, I don't think he's anyone's favourite player, but the fact remains he's actually pretty good.
Yeah. And then probably the last point of the round for me was the Sharks going over to the Broncos in what was pretty much like a top-of-the-table clash game. No Nico Hines, Trindle back from his drink driving, allegedly cocaine abuse allegation. I don't know what it was, but he looked like he was a great player, and the Sharks looked like they're definitely still a team to beat this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously Broncos with a lot of players backing up from Origin.
Yeah. Well, it was a good round. Anything else to add from you for the rest of the round?
No, this round generally happens at some point, this type of round where it's just basically all blowouts, and it is during this weird time. My only concern is, as a long-term Warriors fan, this used to be what happened every single season, was that we'd win through the Origin period, and then when that was over, then things would go back to normal, being a bit up and down. I just hope we can take confidence from this time, and obviously fitness and stuff looked great after the bye the week before. We just really looked we would look like a great team. So that's my only concern, is I'm hoping this isn't just history repeating itself.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, and it will be huge if we can take these good wins over the last few weeks, take it back to Mount Smart this weekend. It's Saturday, 7:30. Keezy and Maire, they're going to be back from their, feels like a 2-week bender in Bali, and they'll be back commentating the game on Sky Sport 9, Sky Sport 9 or Sky Sport 7, one of the two. And fingers crossed the Warriors can get up and make a good round.
Yeah, I'm going to Japan tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
For 3 weeks. So I don't know how big the NRL is in Japan, so I'll just be on a dodgy VPN, bouncing off a satellite via North Korea or something to get the game, but I'll get it.
You'll get it, yeah. Make sure you can probably even find a way to get Keezy and Maire calling the game over there and join a few Asahis over there.
Oh yeah. Well, I think Keezy and Maire, they'll have an Eat, Pray, Love tattoo, matching lower back tattoos. So looking forward to seeing that. Yeah, well, enjoy your trip over to Japan. I'm sure we'll see you back after that. And that was all for us today in the Mad Monday. Have a good week. Up the wires.
He's not Australia.